The Syrian war is on the precipice of a very troubling escalation as we speak. Today, new airstrikes in Idlib, according to the White Helmets and the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Both are saying Russian forces were behind the strikes. This follows Turkey's call for a ceasefire that was promptly rejected by both Russia and Iran yesterday. The UN has warned the Assad offensive in Idlib could be a, quote, bloodbath involving tens of thousands of civilians, including children, in a war that has already seen the deaths of 500,000 people, 50 of them children. It seems impossibly the worst may be yet to come. Joining me now are Congressman Brendan Boyle, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, and CNN national security analyst Sam Vinograd. Congressman, I know this is an issue you care deeply about. You and I penned an op-ed about this very thing just last week, calling for safe zones in Idlib to protect those civilians. President Trump has warned Assad against the use of chemical weapons, but we know now from the new U.S. envoy for Syria that they are seeing lots of evidence that Syrian forces are preparing to use chemical weapons, in fact. What should Congress do? What should this president do?
Well, first, Essie, thanks for focusing on this important topic that for the course of this decade has not gotten nearly the attention that it deserves, either from the media or, frankly, from those of us in elective office. In my view, the United States and most of the Western world has really had no policy towards Syria. That's included two presidents of both parties. Most recently, with President Trump, he's been all over the map. Within a week, he went from saying that we're going to pull out all troops to then launching the strike on the airstrip the last time chemical weapons were used. So in terms of what we're focused on now with Idlib, we're talking about 3 million civilians who live in this area. Yeah. If this is the end game, then what Russia and the Assad forces and Iran could be planning would actually likely be the worst atrocity in a war that has been filled with them.
Right. Sam, you worked for President Obama when this war broke out. There are many lessons to learn from the decisions that were made then. Any of them you confident that this current administration has learned?
I think we haven't. I think that we've continued to miscalculate the costs. And in national security, often you figure out the costs and the benefits. Under President Obama, we miscalculated what would happen if we did not more actively engage in Syria from a terrorism standpoint and in terms of what Russia was prepared to do to support Assad in a whole range of atrocities. It's not just chemical weapons. He's using barrel bombs as we speak. To murder children. There's
the humanitarian consequence, a refugee crisis, which is a huge strain on resources there and here. As you mentioned, terrorism, national security implications. I mean, the consequences abound, and yet this administration seems to be sort of doing the same thing.
They're in a warn and watch posture at this point. So we warn about specifically chemical weapons. Again, all these other war crimes we kind of put over to the side. So it's chemical weapons. So we will warn against chemical weapons use. We will not do anything to stop it, but we're waiting for it to happen. We'll respond when it does, and just watching Russian airplanes target civilians. We have American troops in Idlib.
That's right.
That the Russians have basically said, get out of the way. We're coming. We don't want to get into direct engagement with you. Move over and let us just keep going.
Congressman, quickly, Assad seems to think there are no consequences for crossing red lines over and over again. Is he wrong?
So far, it's pretty easy to see why he believes that. You know, one thing I just want to point out and why Syria is so important. This is essentially a mini World War, not in the sense of World War I or World War II, where there were many fields of battle. This is a mini World War in the sense that almost every major nation state is here on the battlefield in Syria. And I will say, for those in either party who support a more protectionist foreign policy or who believe that we're safer if the U.S. withdraws from the world, this is the kind of thing that happens. The Syrian war. I believe, as many others actually on the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House, that we are stronger in the United States and stronger in the world when we have an activist U.S. foreign policy and we don't retreat from the world.
Well, and certainly, we've got no excuse. We're watching a genocide happen in real time with pictures, with videos, with on-the-ground testimonials. There's no excuse for our inaction other than to say we simply don't care. Congressman Boyle, I'm really glad that you do. Sam, thanks for joining me and for your expertise. I appreciate it. That's it for us. Be sure to stick around for the Van Jones Show.